Jim Swift, thanks so much for jumping on to talk about this with me. This story in today's paper about Jamie McGregor, a businessman in Springfield, Ohio, who has been getting death threats because of what he said about the Haitian workers at his factory, is so symbolic of what Trump has done to this country, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Right. Before now, we could have debates about immigration. People had strong feelings. But he has introduced so much poison into the system, so much into the discourse.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
This factory owner, who employs, I think, like 10% of his workforce is now...
It's fewer than other people in town, yeah.
Haitian immigrants, right. And this is... How far away are you, by the way, from Springfield?
About an hour and a half is the new Cincinnati bureau chief of the Bulwark. I haven't spent a ton of time in Springfield. I've driven through it many times. My parents are from this part of Ohio. I think Mr. McGregor is a hero for speaking out, because I think one of the parts of this story that not a lot of people are going to get are, I don't think the New York Times likely went to him to find out if he was getting threats. Maybe they did. But if he's getting threats, he is amplifying them by talking to the New York Times, if anything.
What do you mean? What do you mean he's amplifying? What do you mean?
By being subject of this story, more people are probably going to threaten him
question.
As a result of this. And he's not a gun guy, like I am. And he showed the reporter he's like training his family how to use firearms. He never wanted guns in his house. I respect that. And what I respect even more, though, is unlike a lot of these Republican politicians who are kind of in the F around and find out phase and staring into the soul of the Republican Party, they're all saying that, none of them are turning around and saying, this is enough. I'm going to vote for Harris. This business owner is sticking up and saying he's not only continuing to defend the Haitian immigrants, he is taking even more heat by being the subject of a New York Times profile about the soul of the MAGA Republican Party and its voters. So I say kudos to him, even though it's going to get worse before it gets better for him, for continuing to defend the immigrants that this town needed and wanted and asked to come.
So, the kinds of things that he and his family, including his mother, have been subjected to. We are so familiar with this, but that should not prevent us from being outraged. Just because it has become normal in the era of Trump doesn't mean that we should take it for granted. So they're getting death threats. His poster has been put up around town with traitor marked across his forehead. People are threatening, his whole family, hundreds and hundreds of calls. The FBI came to visit him and said, listen, these threats are serious. We're concerned that somebody might take action. So they're told to close their blinds at night, to vary their routes during the day when they take their kids to goddamn school, right? To not take the same route every day. I mean, it is just, okay, so what is the sin that this guy committed? He said after Trump and Vance said that the Haitians were, committing terrible crimes and eating dogs and cats, this guy said, no, my Haitian workers are great. I like them. They come to work on time. They don't produce a lot of drama. I wish I had 20 more. Now, a lot of people took offense and felt like he was disparaging Native workers. And maybe he was a little bit, right? Yeah. And so you could see people saying, hey, wait a minute, what are you saying about American workers? Are we, do we have drug problems? Do we have, we don't arrive on time? There's a difference, though, Jim, between saying, hey, I'm offended, or you sure you wanted to imply that about American workers, and death threats, right? I mean, there's a racial element here.
There is. And, he's not easily boycottable. He works for a metallurgy company that makes products that, you and I are not buying for our house, right? You can't really boycott him like you could Arby's or Coca-Cola or Walmart or something like that. And, unfortunately, I think it is sort of a try that in a small town narrative. MAGA, you remember the country music artist and he did the video and the lynching and whatnot.
I wrote a column about that guy.
Yes, I remember. But this is really kind of that crystallized. I mean, Springfield's not a small town so far as Ohio goes. It's on the major crossroads of an interstate, but it is sort of that kind of Republican narrative where the people in town know him. He likely knows the kinds of people who are making the threats against him. He didn't just airdrop in there. And they're trying to intimidate him because they can't really intimidate his business through boycotts. And it really is unfortunate. And, since I moved here, and I'm sure I saw them in Virginia too, but I've try that in a small town. I saw that shirt at a Chuck E. Cheese this past weekend for a birthday party. And wow. It is really unfortunate. But kudos to Mr. McGregor for sticking his neck out even a little bit more here to defend the integrity and honor of the hardworking immigrants that work for his company. I wish that the Republican elected officials, including Springfield's mayor and congressman, had the same resolve. Now, I don't expect Warren Davidson to go and endorse Kamala Harris, but the mayor
Who's Warren
himself,
Davidson?
Warren Davidson is Jim Jordan's best friend in Congress who represents that part of Ohio. Oh, okay. And he's even more controversial than Jim Jordan, if you find that easy to believe. But so no chance that he's going to get on the Kamala Harris bandwagon. But the mayor going on Fox News and basically pleading with the Republicans. I mean, they are seeing what the soul of the Republican Party is right now.
That's right.
It is being laid bare to them, and they could do something about it. Maybe they don't have to endorse Kamala, but they could say, you know what, I'm not going to vote for Trump over this. Right. This businessman is doing more than any Republican.
Well, the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, did write a good op-ed.
I said in that part of the state.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Mike DeWine does have after his daughter was killed in an accident, he and his family had a charity in Haiti. They ran a bunch of schools that unfortunately, due to the violence, had to close. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate Governor DeWine, going to the New York Times and writing that op-ed. Though he did say he was still going to vote for Trump in that. I
know.
Which is inexplicable to me.
Utterly
He's at the end of his career.
No.
Does he want to go back to the U.S. Senate? No.
Agreed. No, there is no world in which that makes any sense.
How do you square all of this with your support for Donald Trump? Has it softened in any way?
Look, I said before, we knew who the nominee was going to be. I would support the Republican nominee for president. I am a Republican.
But at least he said some of the right things.
And for that, he's to be praised.
Yes, exactly. And look, I mean, you said it very well. I mean, this is now the soul of the Republican Party. And for those people, and we should just close on this thought, for those people who keep saying, well, Trump was president for 4 years and everything was okay. I mean,
I like the mean tweets. You love the mean tweets. These are the mean tweets.
Nothing terrible ever happened. Yes, it did. The whole soul of our country has been damaged by that influence and by what it has done to the Republican Party. And 4 more years of it would do God only knows how much more damage. So this is what is at stake. Thanks for joining me.
As always, happy to be here.